All right, happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Survive to Thrive. Super glad you're here. Super glad I'm here. I want you to just answer some questions. Now, you don't need to answer them out loud. Answer them for yourselves. Are you tracking your goals for 2023? You know, this time of year, I start looking at the year and start asking myself, how am I doing based on where I started the year? Because one of the things that I'm working on, and one of the things you should be working on, are your goals for 2024. Did you set goals for 2023? Again, answer that to yourself, not out loud. You know, most people don't. Most people don't even set goals. And there's a variety of reasons why they don't. And whatever your reason is, that's your reason. I'm going to encourage you to set goals. Even if you don't hit them, I want you to set them. It's better to have a goal and not hit it than not to have a goal at all. It's better to have tried and failed than not try. And set your goals for 2024. The other thing that I'm going to encourage you to do is look at them every day. Better than looking at them, better than looking at them every day, write them down every day. Do you have them with you right now? Have you memorized them? Have you internalized them? All right, back to how are you tracking? So get a piece of paper. Down the left side of the sheet of paper, I want you to write the word grow, G-R-O-W. And G is the goal. So you're going to write all of your goals for 2023. These were my goals. And by the way, a little bit of a bunny trail, you can set a lot of goals. And again, you know, I would encourage you to do that. You know, one of the things that Jack Canfield taught me is set 100 goals. It's really hard to do. The first 10 are easy. Everything after that are hard. But the more goals you set, the more things you're going to find that are important to you that you weren't thinking about at the conscious level. They're there subconsciously, but you're not thinking about them consciously. Now, as far as this exercise is concerned, as far as your business is concerned, I don't want you to set 100 goals. I want you to have 3 or 4 at the most. If you have 3 or 4 at the most, then you're going to be laser focused on the 3 or 4, and you're going to be laser focused on the things you need to do in order to hit those goals. So, for example, if I have a goal to make $100,000, and guys, if your goal is 200,000 or 300,000 or $1 million, whatever it is, it's great. It's your goal. Okay. If I have a goal to earn $100,000 in gross income, the average income in my market, or the average commission in my market, is 10,000. I need to close 10 sales. Simple. Now, in order to close 10 sales, if 50% of my business comes from the listing side, I need to close 5 seller sales. And if 50% of the listings I take are selling, I need to take 10 seller listings. Now, in order to take 10 seller listings, if my conversion ratio from an appointment to a listing taken is 50%, I need to go on 20 appointments. Now, if my conversion ratio from a conversation to an appointment is 50 to 1, then simply multiply 10 times 50, and that will let you know how many conversations you need to have. 50 times 20, excuse me, because it's 20 appointments. 50 times 20, and that'll let you know how many conversations you need to have in order to schedule those 20 listing appointments. Now, 50 times 20, is that 1,000? Am I doing the math right, guys? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up. Cool. So you're going to take 1,000 conversations. You're going to divide it by 250 days, because that's how many days you're working. 50 weeks times 5 days a week, 250 days. Now, how many conversations are you having every day in order to hit the goal? And are these the numbers that are going to get you 20 appointments? Probably not. Your numbers are your numbers. Maybe it's 100 conversations to schedule 1 appointment. Maybe it's 500. Whatever it is, if you know it, just hit it. But you've got to know what your numbers are. Okay, back to your goals. So one of your goals was to earn $100,000. And what we just did is we kind of went through the economic model that you'll find in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent in order to earn $100,000. So you got that goal. If another one of your goals was to close 10 sales, take 20 seller listings, those are 3 goals that would be 3 really good business goals. What's your reality? That's the R. In other words, we're in the 11th month of the year. What are you tracking? If 20 listings was the goal and you've taken 10, let's say you've taken 10 through October, you're tracking 12, 1 a month. So you've got a gap of 8. What are the obstacles that are standing between your goal, 20 listings, and the reality, 12? What are the obstacles? What's stopping you from getting more listing appointments? That's the O, by the way, in GROW, G-R-O-W. Now, W is the way forward. In other words, here's what we're going to do to remove those obstacles in order to move you closer to your goal. And how do you do that? Well, one of the things that I would recommend is what everybody here is already doing. And if you're listening to this on YouTube and you're not part of Survive to Thrive, then maybe you don't have a coach. I don't know. But one of the ways you're going to remove those obstacles, one of the ways you're going to create a plan to remove those obstacles is have a coach. Have somebody who's working with you, who can see your blind spots, identify obstacles that you didn't even know existed, and then help you remove those obstacles. Now, I want you to write on another sheet of paper, I want you to draw a line vertically down the center of the page, and then horizontally across the middle. Now, what you've done is you've just created 4 boxes. In the top left box, I want you to write present positive. Now, present positive is everything that's in your life that's going well. Everything in your business life, your personal life. And if you want to just make this about business, okay, everything in your real estate business that's going well, present positive. I'm selling homes. I'm making money. Life is good. All right. The box to the right is future positive. In other words, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? Write a list of what you're doing. It's called a future forecast. If we were to show up 5 years from now, Nathan, and I asked you, Nathan, how are you doing? And your answer was on a scale of 1 to 10, for example, how are you doing? 10 being the awesome, 10 being the best. And your answer is, I'm a 10, John. Why? Why are you a 10? What does that look like? Well, I've taken that $100,000 income that I was making 5 years ago, and I've increased it to $500,000. Really? What would that do for you? What are you doing 5 years from now that you're not doing today because you can't afford to do it? How has your life changed? What is that doing for you? I'm living in closer to my children, and I'm living in a bigger home. Why is that important? What would that do for you? I'm going on more vacations. I'm spending more time with my family. Why is that important? What would that do for you? Right? Go deep in each of these answers so that you know what the target looks like. Most people go through life having no idea what the target looks like. You guys hear that? Most people go through life not knowing what the target looks like. Zig Ziglar called them wandering generalities. You need to be a meaningful specific. You need to know this is where I'm going. Now, Andy Andrews in the Traveler's Gift shares that this is a destination that you are going to, that it is assured. I am on a journey with a destination that is assured. In other words, you know that you're going to reach that destination. And you're never going to stop until you do, because you persist without exception. Now, what's that future forecast look like? Why is it important to you? Now, that bottom left box, I want you to write the word present negative. Now, present negative are the obstacles, the things that are stopping you from going where you want to go. Can't get any listings. My listings aren't selling. The market has slowed down. Homes aren't selling. There's too many real estate agents. It's an oversaturated real estate market. All of the obstacles. I don't know my listing presentation. I can't convert leads to appointments. Just list them. What are the obstacles that are standing between where you are and where you want to be? You want to own a business, and you currently don't own a business. You're a technician working, transacting real estate for somebody else. And by the way, that's fine, 100% fine. But if you want to own a business, then that's an obstacle. What do you need to do in order to own your own business, to build wealth for your family? It's an obstacle. Now, in the bottom right box, I want you to write future negative. Now, future negative is a choice. Please write that down. Future positive is a choice. In other words, right now, today, you are choosing whether you're going to move towards future positive or you're going to move towards future negative. Now, the other thing I want you to write down is the journey to future negative is easy. In other words, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't change a thing. And you will end up in future negative. If we keep doing what we've been doing, expecting a better result, it's the definition of insanity. In order to get to better, future positive, we have to get to different. Now, what's different? Eliminate everything in that present negative box. Now, remember, it's a choice. You choose your destination. Now, imagine 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you've designed that future positive. You know what it looks like. It's awesome. You can't wait to live that life. It's incredible. But 10 years from now, you're exactly where you are today. In other words, that future you described, I'm taking it back from you. You don't get it. Not only do you not get it, you chose to not get it. How do you feel about that? Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So here's another way of looking at that. If you say yes to comfort, you're saying no to growth. Get that? If you yes to, I'm not changing a thing. I love everything exactly like it is. Okay, that may be fine, but you're saying no to better. When you say yes to okay, you're saying no to great. When you say yes to good, you're saying no to better. Remember, it's a choice. All right, I want you to draw 4 more boxes. Same thing, line down the middle, vertically, line across that horizontally. You've created 4 boxes. Top left box is urgent and important. Urgent and important are the things that you do that if you don't do them, something bad is going to happen. It's urgent and it's important. You've got a deal closing tomorrow and you've got an inspection report with a whole list of things that need to be taken care of or that sale's not closing. It's urgent and it's important. Now, in the top right box, I want you to write important, but not urgent. These are things that are important for you and for the growth of your business, but they're not urgent. In the bottom left box, I want you to write urgent and not important. And then in the bottom right box,
Hey, John,
Yep.
I think that the top right box, you said important, not urgent.
Yes, sir.
And the bottom left is what now?
Urgent and not important.
Urgent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, in the bottom right box, I want you to write not urgent and not important. Now, on a sheet of paper, I want you to write down how many hours you have in a day. It's 24, by the way. I love it when people say, I need more time. I'm like, I think we all get 24 hours a day. Now, you can do the math. I'm going to guess, because I've done this many times, see how close I come. I think it works out to 86,400 seconds a day. Somebody do the math, okay? So you're going to take 24 divided by 60, whatever that answer is, divided by 60. And that's how many seconds you have in a day. You all have the same amount of time. Now, how you spend your time is going to determine the direction that you go. It's going to determine whether or not you end up in that future positive box or in the future negative box. It's critically important. And of the four, if I were to ask you, what's the most important one? Most people would say urgent and important. Sounds like the most important box to me. And it's the wrong answer. The most important use of your time, the best use of your time, is important and not urgent. So for example, lead generation. It's important and it's not urgent. If you skip a day of lead generation, that deal's still going to close. So it's not urgent, but it's important. Practicing and role-playing your scripts in order to master the conversations of real estate. Important, critically important, and not urgent. So when things are important but not urgent, we typically don't do those things. Most of us spend the majority of our time in urgent and important, urgent and not important, and not urgent and not important. And we spend the least amount of time in quadrant 2, which is important and not urgent. We mistake being busy with accomplishment. We're getting stuff done. At the end of the day, we've checked a lot of boxes. That to-do list looks awesome. We checked all the boxes. We're super happy. We're proud of ourselves. And we spent 0 time in lead generation. We spent 0 time practicing and role-playing our scripts. We spent 0 time going on listing appointments and taking listings, but we were busy. And we feel like we were successful because we were busy and we didn't move forward an inch. We're right where we were yesterday. Now, if you want to double your production, double the amount of time you spend in quadrant 2. Please write it down. In order to double my production, I need to double the amount of time I spend in quadrant 2. So when something comes up during the day, you're going to ask yourself, is this quadrant 2? Is it quadrant 1? Is it quadrant 3? Is it quadrant 4? Remember, every time you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. When you say yes to quadrant 3, in other words, urgent but not important, all right? An example of urgent but not important is your phone's ringing. It wants to be answered. It's urgent. However, is it important? Maybe not. But you answer that phone and you end up having a 10-minute conversation that didn't need to be had right now, or it could be handled by somebody else. And you spent that time in quadrant 3. Or you're in your office and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, did you see the football game yesterday? I can't believe they lost. They did this, they did that. By the way, it's quadrant 4. It's not urgent and not important. The way you find more time for quadrant 2 is by taking time away from quadrant 3 and 4. Notice I didn't say 1. Here's the reason why. You can't eliminate quadrant 1. It's going to happen. It's life. There are going to be things that happen that are urgent and important, and you're going to have to deal with them. However, you can say no to quadrant 3. You 100% can. You could say no to quadrant 4 and take all that time and put it into quadrant 2. Now, if you're working 10 hours a day and you are spending an average of 4 hours a day in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, imagine what would happen if you stopped and you put that 4 hours back into quadrant 2. What would happen to your business? All right, that's a wrap. Raise your hand, talk to me. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Questions do you have?
I want to get out of urgent, important quickly. Like when that happens, I want to get away from that quickly. I don't want to stay in that box long. Um, I want to take care of it fast. But I do love the thought that standing in box 2 and getting it done, I want to go into box 4. I want my relaxed time to be in box 4. I'm gonna use you for example. I noticed that you go golfing, and I love that, and is it urgent? Is it important? I don't know. Maybe it is. But anyway, it's your enjoyment. That's my point. But I know that you experience that enjoyment because you do a lot of quadrant 2.
Yeah, Nathan, that's a great point, right? So think of the 4 boxes as and this shows up in life too, by the way, guys. The 80-20 rule, you have 20% in life as well. I'll give you an example, okay? Spending time with your children is 20%, right? Now, sitting on the couch watching TV while your children are on the floor playing is not spending time with your kids. Now, if you read to your children and you block time during the day to spend with your kids because it's important, and you block time to sit down and read to them, to go outside and play with them, that's important. All right, it's not urgent, it's a quadrant 2 activity. All right, now playing golf for me, Nathan, it is a quadrant 2 activity. It's important. It's not urgent. Nothing's not going to happen. Nothing bad is going to happen if I don't play golf. But take time to sharpen the saw. If you don't, and by the way, you guys are the saw. If you don't take time to sharpen the saw, then the saw is going to become dull and not effective, right? You have to take time for you, personal time. Now, the more I stay focused on quadrant 2 in my business, the more personal time I have for me. Now, Nathan, you've got, as a managing broker of multiple offices, your job description is quadrant 1.
That's why it drives me nuts.
It'll burn you out. It'll absolutely burn you out. My wife is a transaction coordinator. Her entire job is quadrant 1, right? But that's a great example of, you can eliminate or you can lessen the amount of time you spend in quadrant 1 by leveraging it to somebody else. In other words, this is a quadrant 1 activity, but not for me. It's for somebody else. All right. I hope you guys got value today. I know this is a very different conversation than we've been having for the last couple of months, but this is kind of my end of the year thought process as I'm thinking about you and your goals, whether or not you're hitting those goals. If you're not, what are the obstacles that are potentially stopping you? And one of those big obstacles, by the way, if you haven't figured it out yet, is time management. All right.
Hey, John, I had a question real quick.
Talk to me.
Would it be also wise to also pay someone for your time? For example, as a realtor, I went out and found me a listing coordinator that could help me make it a little bit more faster. I can get to the next deal.
It's leverage, David. You're leveraging quadrant 1 activities that are normally quadrant 1 for you to someone else. It's absolutely a good idea. Your valuable time is $150, $200, $250 an hour. Don't do anything that you could hire somebody to do and pay him $20 an hour. All right. I'm kind of hanging on that. And at the same time, I feel like I need to go another half hour and explain this whole leverage conversation, right? Because I don't want everybody going out and hiring a bunch of people today. That goes to the budget model. All right. Make money before you spend money. red light, green light. When you spend money, it's red light. Stop until you see a return on that. That goes for people leverage as well. We'll pick that up another day. All right, everybody, make it a great day.
Thanks, John.
My pleasure.